Hey, what's up, guys? So, Dungeonborn releases tomorrow, and today they dropped the second half of the day one or day zero patch notes. I wanted to make a quick video going over some of the key changes. Uh, Hopefully, it doesn't get too long. I'm going to try to go as quick as I can and just give my thoughts on them and give you the information so you can decide. There is some things that I don't know. I didn't play any of the Mithril Order classes during the playtest, so I'm not familiar with any of the skills. And then I tried looking it all up online and also couldn't find a detailed list of the skills for them. So if you guys know any of them, if you could leave some comments down below and just say what they are, just so everybody has an idea of what they are, because I have no clue. But that being said, we'll get into it, talk about what's going on here. One thing to remind everybody that they left, note they left, is that balancing this game is a very complex task and a constant process of trial and error. So basically they're saying, hey, we might break this. If we do, don't hate us. I think is fair. It's still in early access. They're going to be tweaking a lot of things. Just giving us some diversity is really nice. So adding in this skill selection system, I'm super happy about. The other thing is that the only classes that are getting other skills right now is Fighter, Death Knight, Rogue, Cryomancer, and Priest. So looks like what's left? Druid and Pyro. We'll have to wait and see. The other thing is they're breaking down their skills into Q skills and E skills. So there's going to be two different categories. You can't have two Q skills and you can't have two E skills. So you can mix and match them, but you can't have, they're going to classify them into two separate categories. So just keep that in mind. First thing with the fighters get two new skills. They're going to be the Mithril Order's active skills, and looks like they reduce the duration for the Mithril Zealots active skills, and they reduce the duration for its E skill, Inspire. Someone told me the Inspire is like a move speed burst for you and your teammates. So that just got nerfed a little bit. And then they made some adjustments to some passives, but we don't know what those are. For Death Knight, it says that they gave them a new replaceable active skill, just one. The Soul Shroud ability that can be toggled on and off at any time, but it will have slightly lower damage. If somebody could tell me what that does, that would be fantastic. And they also significantly increase the effective range of Grasp of the Grave. That is fantastic. By having longer range, we can pull pyros that are long distance to us, makes them much more dangerous in a team fight or even in solo play. For rogues, they added two new skills. Again, they got the Mithril Shadows active skills. They slightly increased the damage for the Q skill, the Quick Blades. I do know that one because they used it against me, and that was they like throw a fan of knives, so they did increase the damage on that. Added a new skill allowing rogues to instantly enter stealth for a shorter duration and gain a movement speed boost. Well, so we'll see how that goes. Instant stealth seems fun in the middle of a team fight. Could really help them. Let's see. They adjusted some passives. They only listed one example here. Toxic Cloak now allows you to enter stealth not only after petrifying an enemy, but also when hitting an enemy with Quick Blades. And then they added a new passive, Stealth Break Venom, dealing 150 poison damage over time on the first hit after breaking stealth. That's pretty big. So Rogue gets to break stealth, deal an additional 150 just off of a passive. Yeah, that's really good. And right, if they get to go invisible in the middle of combat, so you get a Petrify or Quick Blades off in the middle of combat, you re-stealth, come out, hit someone, and reapply that dot damage. Should be really nice for them. Again, I touched on this before, but stealth will now be completely invisible when far enough away from enemies. That's huge. And petrifying poison can now be applied to crossbow bolts by default, so don't need the passive for that. Really good. Swordmaster nerf. Psionic Blade cooldown when only 1 or 2 swords are consumed has been increased. And they no longer restore life by default and will require the Healing Scabbard passive to restore life. I don't think this was really the problem with Swordmaster. I think their E is maybe the ability that's a tad too strong, just because it gives you so much damage mitigation, and the cooldown's pretty quick, so it's really hard to deal with. They also reduce the tracking range of Psionic Blades, so you're not going to be able to have an auto hit from as far of a distance, so that's also good. We'll see. I mean, I think that they didn't want to tune Swordmaster down too far because they're also downing the sword and shield combo. So this is probably stage 1. We might see part of this reverted and the E get changed or something like that, but it's at least a step in the right direction. We'll have to play with it, see how it works. For Druid, they significantly increase the Panther form's basic attack damage. When the Treant is summoned, it immediately attacks once. They increase the Treant's health and damage, and increase the damage of Shadow Assault. No numbers for how much this was done, so can't really comment on how good it is. General impression is that it will be better, and Druid definitely needs it, so hopefully we play with that and it works out perfect. Pyromancer, they nerfed. It looks like a pretty big amount. So a casting interval, they added a casting interval to stage 1 Pyroblast to prevent spamming it, so slowing it down. Added damage fall off for stage 2 Pyroblast, significantly reducing its damage at long range. Reduce the projectile speed of stage 2 Pyro, allowing the skill to be dodged at long range. So we're not going to see 3 Pyros standing on top of Cyclops building and hitting us from halfway across the map, and that's going to be fantastic, and I love everything about that. Hopefully it shouldn't change them too much in like close quarters fights or mid-range fights, so long as it doesn't change that, Pyro will still be fine, and it'll be much better to play against. Cryomancer, so this is a class that I played the most during the playtest, so I'm most familiar with it. Added 2 new replaceable active skills. Don't tell us what they are. I hate that. Absolutely hate that. Why can't you tell us? They did leave some hints for us, though. Keyword hints for the new skills. Solo combat capability. Kiting, caster tank, information gathering. Yeah. Solo combat capability. What does that mean? I mean, we know what it means, but what does that do for us? They could already kite reasonably okay. The caster tank portion I'm very interested in. That was an idea that I had because you are heavily rewarded for you're rewarded for going heavily into stamina with Cryomancer. So I don't know. Hopefully it's fine. And the information gathering, I don't know how those all work together, but we'll see. I would have preferred for them to just tell me what it is, but I don't know. Their patch notes are not the greatest, and that's kind of one of my complaints about it, is I don't get very detailed patch notes. Hopefully that changes once we get into early access. However, Ice Storm now refunds some cooldown and soul energy when interrupted. Great, love that. Slightly increased Ice Storm's damage and reduced its base cooldown. Hey, I'll take that all day, every day. I think it was already pretty good, but I will enjoy it more with a buff. Priest added 2 new replaceable active skills. Priest can now select the Mithril Devout's active skills. I know one of those is a single target heal, and the other, I'm not sure what the other is. They also increased the healing and damage of Divide Guidance and added a short cooldown, and reworked the calculation formulas for healing and shielding. So now they can fully benefit from weapon damage bonuses and percent damage affixes, just like the Pyroblast. So it says that that will significantly increase the healing output and scaling. Now, so does Priest's healings scale off of weapon damage and percent weapon damage? Because that doesn't make sense. If anybody knows, let me know in the comments, please. And then they reduced the priest base health, so made them squishier as kind of a trade-off. We'll see how that goes. I wasn't super impressed by Priest in the playtest. I never played it, but I had a friend who played it. We tried some 3s with it. Didn't feel very good. But he never really was up at a high gear, so I'm not sure. Maybe it gets better with playing high gear, and maybe this change really helps it. So we'll see how that goes. For the weapon balance, sword and shield, slightly increase the charge up time for charge attacks. Thank you. Please maybe increase it more. I don't know what slightly is. I wish we knew the actual numbers. They increase the damage of the first hit of the sword and shield's basic attack while reducing the damage of the second and third. I think that's quality of life. I think that's just better. The first hit on the swing felt like crap, and then your last two were obviously the big ones. So seeing that more spread out is a little better for me personally. For two-handed swords, dual swords, and mason shield, they increase the damage by 20 to 30%. I'm assuming that means within those three things. I don't think it's random. I am assuming that it means maybe this two-handed sword is maybe 20%, and dual swords is 25, and mason shield is 30. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what it is on day one. Their thoughts behind this was that currently melee characters, except sword and shield and daggers, who both have a dash, have to spend a lot of effort to close the gap and reach caster classes, and they wanted to ensure that once they do manage to get there and engage in close combat, that they can pose a more significant and immediate threat to their targets. I don't know, man. Two-handed sword kind of felt really like it could mess me up once they were in melee, but I mean, we'll see. And increased crossbow damage by 20%. Not giant, just a little bit of poke damage. I'm okay with it. Totally fine. For equipment stuff, so they increase the stat values of so that's all the class changes and like weapon balance stuff. And then from here on, we're gonna get into like the more game style changes, stuff they did for the game itself. These are super fast. Equipment balance. They increase the stat values of magic and magic equipment and further increase the stat values of epic plus equipment. Great. I know the common complaint. They did a stat squish, and people said there was no difference in having a green and having an epic or whatever, especially with the price differences. So giving that gives a little more incentive to go for the higher level loot. I'm fine with that. I like it a lot, actually. They lowered the activation threshold for most set affixes and enhanced the effects of tier 3 set affixes. Good. Those things are super hard to get, required very specific rolls on gear. If they're a little bit easier, I'm a giant fan of it. They enhance the effects of some item affixes, such as life recovered on first opening of chests, and added elemental damage to attacks to make them more fun and valuable. I don't care about life recovered on first opening of chests, but added elemental damage to attacks is really nice. I wish we had a list of what affixes they increased. Also, this is a big one. Legendary quality orbs now have 100% blocked damage reduction. Okay though, if you're gonna give orbs, legendary orbs, 100%, why not give a scaling on the blues and the purples as well? So you just go from 75% on a green, blue, purple to 100% on a legendary. I don't like that. Change it, make it so that blues and purples have like a scaling effect. Other things. I love this. There's a new server region, South America and US East. Thank you for the US East. I play on terrible internet. That means my ping during the playtest was 1 to 115 or higher every match. And I'll be happy to be on US East. That'll be really good. Much better for me. Increase the base movement speed by 20 for all classes, just making them all a little faster. Increase the loot speed, reduce the duration and health of stone walls, and slightly enhance the slow effect of thunderclap. I don't know that the slow effect was needed for thunderclap, but reduce duration and health of stone walls is pretty good. I feel like most people will be happy about that. Feels bad to be locked behind a stone shaping flask. I know we used it a few in some of our fights, and it was really good. Camera work. So, fixed a camera issue, significantly improving hit detection accuracy for melee weapons. And they reference this in another patch note, so I don't know if they did more. So, it looks like they're just really trying to get accuracy much better for the melee weapons. And then reduce the respawn of speed of one-handed swords in competitive mode. So in the arena, one-handed swords will come back so faster so that Swordmaster can grab more in between deaths. That's good. That's fine. I didn't play a whole lot of arena, so we'll have to see. Now I'm actually rolling back to the patch notes they produced yesterday because these aren't as giant, but what they did for it. So for the maps, this is map changes, item changes, cameras, monsters, and like some other stuff, but not giant. For the maps though, they adjusted the monster placement in both maps, reducing the monster density. Thank you so much. Especially in Sinner's End. No. Yes, in the Sinner's End Underground, the monster density is wild. So I don't know if they touched that or not, but hopefully. Going through some of those maps solo in some areas felt really, really bad. They changed player spawn points to avoid issues where players are spawning too close to each other. I didn't find this to be a giant deal. I think it's a giant deal for newer players that don't know what to expect. But, like, for me personally, I didn't find it a giant deal. When I got one of the spawns that was really close to someone else, I just auto-turned to look at that spawn and made sure that no one was there. And I kind of like sometimes loading into a match and just getting right into the PvP. So, a little sad about it for me personally, but I think it's a good change for a lot of people. They did change terrain collision in certain areas in Clisseau Castle and Sinner's End to prevent characters from getting stuck. I don't know, I never ran into that. Did any of you guys? I'd be curious to know. But good, that's nice. Shrines now display their effects and types. Thank you. I would like to know what the shrine does, so maybe one of my teammates can pick it up instead of me if they need it. I'm also terrible with recognizing visual colors and could not remember what each of them did, so I'm sure there are a lot of people that are much better at it than me. They added a countdown reminder for the end of the Vengeful Monarch boss fight. I think that's because some people didn't realize why they were dying at the end of it, so that's nice to have. And optimize the tutorial dungeons flow and guidance prompts. That's good. Always, better tutorials are always good. We want as many new players as we can in the game. Item balance. We talked about that again. So they mentioned that here, and they mentioned it again in the next note. So I don't know if they did it in addition to, or if they just referenced it twice. But they slightly increased the stat values of equipment and magic rarity and above. We talked about the enhanced stat affixes, the camera control, improved first person and third person, character controls and effects, better hit detection. For monsters, they improved monster attack patterns and AI behavior for ghosts, werewolves, mimics, skeletons, and goblins. I swear, the only thing I care about is that stupid little axe goblin. If they changed him to make him a little worse at killing me, I would be very happy. Every single other thing in this patch note, I don't care about if they change that, because the goblin axe monster was the most terrible thing in this game. And then they improved animations and audio effects for the Vengeful Monarch. Other small things, new languages, Russian, Korean, German. Adjusted the Mithril Order's reputation rewards and removed the respawn ability. Added allow, so this is big. Added allow others to inspect your inventory option. Turning this off means that other players can't view your character's inventory in the waiting room. I know that's something that they've been asking about for Dark and Darker for forever, but it's very nice to see it here. It's just an option. If you want people to, cool, you can let them. If you don't, just turn it off and no one can inspect you. The other thing that I love, buy now price option for auction listings. Thank you again. I should not have to wait 20 plus hours to try and get some purple piece of gear that I really want. Just give me a buy now button. Let me buy it. Let the market stabilize to what it's going to be once players are playing. And then we can all know about relatively what a piece of gear is going to cost. Thank you. Challenger mode option in adventure maps, allowing solo players to be matched against trios. That's cool. Love that for people who are really, really good. The merchant will sell identified and unidentified equipment, heirloom materials, and more, and adjusted the restock. So be cool to see what that is. Could be nice. You get really nice things, buy it from the merchant for a cheap price. That's nice. Tutorial and prompts for the heirloom system. That's good because I didn't know anything about it before when I entered into the playtest and had no idea what to do with it. So having a tutorial for it for new players is really good. Character appearance customization process and UI was adjusted, and optimized in-game UI and some interactions. Okay, so my big thing, please, if you are listening, guys, make these patch notes more specific. Please give a little bit of transparency. It would just be really nice. I know people will complain about anything, and maybe you're limiting what you're saying so that, you know, people aren't up in arms before it even goes live, but it just feels better to be able to read exactly what you're getting. But other than that, I like 90% of these changes. I think 90% of them either fall under, it's kind of neutral, we'll see how it goes, to, oh, these are really good. So yeah, I'm super excited for launch tomorrow. I know you guys are too. It goes live at 9 p.m. Central Time, just for your local time zone as necessary. They did say that pricing was going to be regionally based. They haven't listed what the actual pricing is yet, but it will make a difference where you live, which is fine. We want everybody in the world to have a chance to get it. But yeah, keep following for more Dungeonborn content. As it goes live, I will stream tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central, once it is live, and then we'll make more videos going from there. Hope to see you guys all in the dungeon.